Hello guys and welcome to today's tropical update for July 1st, 2020. We are finally done with June and now we're into July. And as of right now, the next 2 days in the tropical Atlantic, there's nothing going on. The next 5 days, looks like there's nothing going on either, but I think this will change either tonight or tomorrow, as we might get an area of interest here off the southeast coast, which I will go over here in a few seconds, actually. So as of 2 p.m., there's nothing going on in 2 and 5 day. All right, let's take a look at the GFS here, and here's an interesting feature right here, but that won't go off to do anything because of the Sierra and air layer that's right above it, so we don't have to worry about that doing anything. And as you can see, nothing of great importance is going on. But this right here, this is interesting. This is why I think tonight on the NHC this will change. Because this is a subtropical system right here. That is definitely a subtropical tropical storm because it's 1,003 millibars. So the GFS and the GFS Para are both showing this system popping up here. So we'll take a look at the GFS Para here shortly. And this right here, this 1010 millibar pressure here, this is our southeast system that is starting to come off into the Gulf of Mexico here. And we'll go out through time more. As you can see, it's the southeastern one really struggles to develop into anything. Kind of went on to 204 hours out here to show you guys that it didn't really amount to anything, at least on this run. This can change on the next run. But here's our feature right in there that we're going to be watching carefully over the next coming days. Here is the GFS Para. This is a new GFS system here that just got introduced a couple of days ago. And we're going to take a look at the features here. There's our interesting feature right there that won't amount to anything because of the Sierra and air layer. There's something right here, 1010 millibars, and we'll go out through time. And the GFS Para has something at the three-day time period, which is 1,003 millibars, just like the original GFS. So this is definitely still a subtropical storm here that could be forming. And this, as you see here, here's the bridge of high pressure here, and this system is pretty much gonna ride the periphery of this high to the north and the east, while it also gets dragged out by a frontal system as well. So there's that system. And here is our southeast system here at 120. This is about a day and a half, 5.5 days out. But I'm gonna go farther because we're gonna check out what might happen with this system as we go forward. As you can see, the GFS Para really wants to strengthen this to a pretty powerful Category 1 hurricane before it gets absorbed here by this frontal system right here. So, as I said, this is a little too far out for this to really verify, but if this does, we may be seeing our first hurricane of the season come like July 11th or even earlier than that, July 9th even. July 10th is the earliest. This may turn into a hurricane, but this is too far out. There's still some variables that need to happen with this in order for it to really blow up. Like, we still have Sierra and dust here in the Gulf of Mexico. We even have some Sierra and dust here and off the east coast too. So we're just gonna have to wait and see if that the dust here moves out quick enough, and the wind shear is light enough. Actually, no, we can't take a look at that here. But yeah, this is what the GFS Para wants to take this future Edward here. Now we're going to take a look at the GFS, or not the GFS, but the ECMWF, or the Euro, as people like to call it. And it has some really interesting features going on here. Don't know really what this is all about, this mumbo jumbo here, but we're gonna go out, and that's a subtropical system right there because of how it looks. This might be a full tropical system because of the way it looks. It's totally circular, and it's not like elongated like this here. And the Euro is not that this bullish on whether the East Coast system does anything or not going forward, but it does show a few interesting features going into the future. Like, this is 5 days out. This was probably something. This was probably something, and now we have this coming off of, you know, the southeast coast. So, you know, as you guys know, this is all just a waiting game, and we're gonna go over some of the dynamics here of the Atlantic to see what's going on. All right, this is the wind shear map, and as you can see, the wind shear is pretty much dominating most of the subtropics and most of the upper MDR region here, as well as the Caribbean. So, you know, going forward for a little bit more period of time, we're gonna have unfavorable wind shears in these areas here that you see shaded in red. But that doesn't mean, you know, we can't have something popping up right here where the green is. This is like the middle, the southern part of the MDR region here, and I think this is what it's trying to do, because we have plenty of waves, you know, coming off of Africa here, and you know, as we have the Kelvin wave come in, and it stands over, you know, Africa and the Indian Ocean. You know, this is just going to keep on popping off waves, popping out more waves, and that ultimately means it has more of a chance. One of these has more of a chance of developing into something, and I think we're going to be seeing that here sometime in July. Some of these MDR systems really taking off, you know, because, you know, you can see it. We got 5, 10, 15 knots of wind shear in this area of the deep subtropics, or not subtropics, but the deep MDR. 20, that's pushing it. You can still probably get something going with 20 knots of wind shear, but, you know, it's becoming unlikely at that point. As you can see here, in like the parts of the eastern Gulf of Mexico and the southwestern Caribbean, or southwestern Atlantic Ocean here, systems are a go here, besides this little area of 25s and 20s. And I do believe the southeast system is going to be going into these favorable conditions. I think this is our blob right here that we're watching for it to go into either the Gulf of Mexico or the southwestern Atlantic here in the coming days. Here are the water temperatures, and as you can see, it's plenty warm enough to sustain tropical development here. And then you see this number right down here, 96 degrees. Really? 96 degrees? When do you ever see that? When do you ever see waters that are 96 degrees? That's serious business, guys. That's super serious business. You know, we just have to pay attention to what's going on here in the you know, in this area, because, you know, this is July, guys. If you're already getting temperatures this hot at July 1st, then there's going to be serious problems going forward. There's going to be some serious problems. I don't know if this 96 degree reading is a glitch or not, but, you know, as you can see here in the eastern Gulf, there's temperatures that are reaching close to 90 degrees here even. So this is worrying. If that southeast system goes in here into the Northeast Gulf, you know, then that fuel, it may not be a lot of fuel here compared to down here, but it's still enough fuel to get something going while it crosses over Florida and over here. So, you know, if that happens, I'm kind of worried about that, even though, you know, the system is not going to be any threat to land, as it's probably going to be moving to the north and the east when the time comes. But this 96 reading, that's worrying, and I hope this 96-degree reading doesn't spread out elsewhere, or that's going to lead to some problems. Speaking of ocean heat content here, as you can see, there is some ocean heat content here where I was pointing out at where the waters could be reaching 90 degrees. But it's not as prevalent as it is here in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is usually where the hotspot is here in most hurricane seasons of the warmest upper ocean heat content. As you can see, this is getting up there into the reds and the dark reds, and pretty much going off the chart here. And I remind you again, this is only July 1st. July 1st. We still have all of July, all of August, all of September, all of October, and all of November. That is 5 whole months that these upper ocean heat contents is going to be persistent for the next 5 months. The only thing that's prohibiting anything right now is the wind shear and the dust, and those things will be going away at some point. We just don't know when. It'll definitely be sometime here in July, maybe the second or third week of July. This Sierra and dust and this wind shear is going to start calming down a whole lot, you know, and that's when we're going to really start seeing some problems here going forward. But as you can see, here is the Gulf Stream here, and as you can see, there's some upper ocean heat content there as well. So, you know, once we get the southeast system going up into the Gulf Stream, this could really be taken off. And as you can tell, as you can see from the GFS Para, it wants to take this up to a hurricane. Our very first hurricane of the season with Edouard. And as you can see here in the main development region, we're starting to get up there too. We got brighter colors, we got yellows, you know, all around here. So, you know, this too will also get warmer as we go throughout this season. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see how this looks when we get to like months like August, September, and October, where the peak of the hurricane season really starts ramping up. And speaking of our southeast system, I wanted to have this radar up just so you can see how robust this system is. Currently it's in like Missouri and Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, and Arkansas right now. But this is going to head to the south, or maybe the southeast like that. And, you know, what basin that it ultimately decides to go in will be the determined factor how strong this is going to get. I do believe, this is my personal opinion, but I do believe if it gets out here in the 90-degree water, then this might become at least a tropical invest or a tropical depression before it hits Florida, and then it goes across as a depression, and then that's when it takes off. I can see that scenario panning out. Now, I'm not saying if it goes down here to the southeast Georgia or the North Florida area that it couldn't do the same thing. I just honestly think that it has a better chance of doing something if it goes out here into the Gulf and, you know, hit these fuels, these heat engine fuel water temperatures here. So, and as you can see, this system is pretty robust. So this is going to be something as immediately as soon as it hits off the coast, it's going to have a threat of becoming something. That's just how I feel about it, and we'll just have to see going forward what it does here in the next 2 to 3 days. Alright, we're gonna take a look here at some other things here. Like this right here, the tropical intensity index. And as you can see, you know, it's pretty much all systems a go here in the red areas here. These are highly favorable areas of tropical development here. And where the southeast system is going, it's going to be going right in here or right in there, right exactly where the highly favorable conditions are. So that's why I'm worried about this, because, you know, we have several scenarios here. If it goes into the Gulf and gets into those 90-degree weather or temperatures, you know, it could go east into Florida and bring 30-35 mile per hour winds, very heavy rains, you know, stuff like that. But if it goes out to here, you know, you're still going to get tropical depression status probably, and it affects no land at all. Then it becomes a subtropical depression down here somewhere. But, you know, we won't really know that until it actually gets off of the coast and out into water, what it's going to ultimately do in the end. Let's see here. Let's take a look at the dust here. And as you can see here, we do have some dust here off the Gulf of Mexico coast and the southeast coast. So, you know, that might be a prohibiting factor, maybe, but, you know, by the time this gets off into the coast, this can all move. This can all move elsewhere. And you know that the system is right in here where the dust is the heaviest. So obviously this dust isn't affecting it too much, even while it's in, you know, inland here. So that's a pretty interesting thing here. And here's a second dust outbreak here that's making its way towards the Caribbean here. I do believe that this is the last, you know, sarin outbreak dust to be moving into these areas, because I do believe that once we get into, you know, the second, third, fourth week of July, this dust is going to start dying down a little bit. And I think there too, with the dust, the shear is going to die down as well. We're just going to have to, you know, wait and see, but that's just what I think is going to happen. Especially when you have this Kelvin wave that's going to be coming by and standing over the Africa and India Ocean. That's going to moisten up this atmosphere a whole lot, and that's going to clear out some of this dust as well. So we're just going to have to see going forward. And speaking of the Kelvin waves and whatnot, this is a more organized look at what a Kelvin wave is. In my view, is Kelvin wave is more of the upward motion instead of downward motion here. And as you can see, for the first 2 weeks of July here, at least in the MDR, we have some upward motion here. And the upward motion for the Caribbean is the first week, the first like 5 days of July here. But, you know, as we go into the 9th through the 24th, we're going to have some downward motion here. And downward motion is not favorable for any development for tropical cyclones going, you know, forward from that point in time. But then we get to July 29th, you know, August 3rd, August 8th, you see it really dies down. It's like the whole basin from the Pacific, West Pacific, all the way to the Africa is, you know, this is all upward motion here. So we're gonna really have to watch out here towards the end of July to see what tropical activity has in store for us here. Alright, that is all for the Atlantic. Let's take a look at the Eastern Pacific now. And we do have an area to watch here. This is disturbance 1. it has a 10% in the next 2 days and 30% in the next 5 days. This is showers and thunderstorms associated with a broad area of low pressure located a few hundred miles south-southwest of the southern coast of Mexico. They have become a little better organized this morning. Some further development of this system is possible over the next several days while it moves west-northwestward at around 10 miles per hour well south of Mexico. So this may be the next system to watch here. Me personally, you know, this has been on the board for a while now, and I do not think this might not form into anything, but we're gonna find out. We'll find out. That's just my prediction. You know, take my predictions with a grain of salt. They may not happen, right? So let's take a look at the GFS here for this system. As you can see, this system is right here where all this moisture is, and we're gonna go forward into time about 5 days. As you can see, it has a hard time really popping up until, you know, pretty much the 5-day mark. This is either a very strong tropical depression or a very weak tropical storm here, and this is looking at this GFS model run. This makes me believe this might not form. But this, on the other hand, you know, that's looking pretty tight. This might form into something. And you know what? We're gonna take it out a little bit farther and see what happens. About the 168 mark, which is 7 days out, and bam, look at that. We can take a look at 7 days out. After 7 days, that's when it's a no-go. So that is definitely a tropical storm in the Pacific right there. Once again, once we get 3 or 4 days out, if the GFS is still persistent with this forming, then we may have something on our hands finally in the Pacific that might be interesting. Because, you know, this is July and we've only had 2 named storms in the Eastern Pacific. You know, and we've only had an ACE accumulation of 0.5. 0.5 for the Eastern Pacific at this point in time. Because most of the storms that have formed have been weak and haven't lasted very long. That's why we have a ACE factor of less than 1. You know, the Eastern Pacific is really going crazy right now, and not in a good way. At least when it comes to storms that are forming, it's not good. Let's take a look at the GFS Para here, and I think this is our disturbance right here, where you have the wonky looking isotherm here, and the GFS Para wants to put this as a tropical storm. Yeah, as you guys know, the GFS Para is a new model for the GFS. That's probably going to take place of this GFS here in the future. So this is the GFS Para wants to take this to the tropical storm at the 90-hour mark. Now let's go forward, and it pretty much dissipates it thereafter, or weakens it pretty quickly thereafter. And then it wants to strengthen it again. Okay, well, I guess that's the thing. And there is our system, the other system we were looking at on the GFS, that wants to take it as a tropical storm here. So that's two models that want to take this to a tropical storm. At least this one. And this one may become a tropical storm as well, according to both GFSs. So let's see what the European has to say here. And here's our system right in here. You can tell by the way the wind barbs are turning here. Yeah, the Euro doesn't want to do anything with it. The European, of all models, the one that is more reliable with tropical weather, does not want that system to become anything. And that is why I don't think it's going to become anything, because the European is the most trusted model for tropical cyclone development. But the European does pick up the one that we're showing on both the GFS and the GFS Para. So, you know, I'm inclined to to agree with it, because that's 3 miles that showed us, you know, this 1 week out system becoming a tropical storm here. So, as we all say, you know, things come with time, and you know, when the time comes, I'll be keeping track on everything here in the tropics. Until then, we'll have another update tomorrow, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, or rest of your night, day, or evening, wherever you guys are from. Enjoy the rest of your day.